maybe with the presence of the lawyer, minus the presence of the lawyer, understand, listen the gravity. And the second step then the mediator has to take on his own is called the process of elimination. So first is listening, second is elimination. The process of elimination means that as a mediator you must realize what is the crux of the problem. Every vow, every grievance, every nitty-gritty need not be resolved. क्योंकि अगर झगड़ा हो रहा है तो हर दिन कुछ न कुछ नया झगड़ा हुआ होगा, हर दिन की एक स्टोरी होगी. अगर हम फिर से इस स्किट का एग्जाम्पल लें जो कि बहुत बढ़िया इन्होंने दिखाया, हमारे पास एग्जाम्पल मिल गया. इस दिन इसने मुझे झापड़ मारा, इस दिन इसने मुझे गाली बकी, इस दिन इसने मुझे घर से निकाला, इस दिन इसने माँ बाप की सेवा नहीं की, इस दिन इसने माँ बाप का खर्चा नहीं उठा. Now these are the mediator has to litigators will not realize. They'll say everything is important, please note it down. But during the process of elimination, the mediator has to realize these are all instances coming out of the consequence. These are consequence of one germ. That the crux is the sharing of the property. With this example, if the property is shared fairly, then these instances will dilute automatically. So that is called, the second point is called process of elimination, which again one can learn from our judges who, this is in our adversary system called framing the issue. There must be 10,000 allegations in the plaint, 10,000 defenses in the written statement. Well, what beautifully the judges do is they bring it down to the issues. Finally, what is the issue? They are not there to pass judgments on everything. किस दिन गाली बकी, किस दिन झापड़ मारा, किस दिन क्या हुआ. That is not. That is all the offshoot of that issue. So through the process of elimination, the mediator, after talking to all the parties, bring it down to the bone of contention. And whenever the other party tries to bring that anger and say साहब उसका क्या जो झापड़ मारा था, साहब उसका क्या, अरे भाई वो करेंगे हम लोग बाद में, पहले जरा ये तो डिसाइड करें. And you would be happy to note when that main bone of contention will be decided, they all forget with that झापड़ और गाली and all, they will be happy. So you have to just keep them driving away from those smaller issues, bring them to that main issue, to the bone of contention. That is the second step called process of elimination. Then comes the third. After process of elimination, when you have seen the bone of contention between the parties, then called, you have to give them a sense of proportion. That this is the bone of contention, these are the proportionate profits, benefits if you go through mediation, these are the proportionate losses if you go through the adversarial system of the court proceedings. Now this is called, after the elimination, the proportionate understanding of the consequences of the case. And by this proportionate understanding only you can make them realize that resolving this issue quickly to the finality, even if it is slightly adversarial to one party, is beneficial to that party. Even if one party has a grudge, साहब इसमें मेरा loss है, the mediator has to make him realize कि इसमें तुम्हारा loss नहीं gain ही है. Monetary थोड़ा loss हो सकता है, property का थोड़ा loss हो सकता है, but बहुत कुछ gain है. और proportionate word इसलिए यूज होता है क्योंकि इस litigation को आज अगर ख़त्म करोगे तो अगले 10 साल का, 20 साल का जो litigation expenses है वो भी तुम बचा रहे हो, अपनी troubles, अपनी energy, अपना time बचा रहे हो. और अगर वो सब multiply करोगे तो ये थोड़ा सा जो proportionate loss तुम्हें आज दिख रहा है, वो बेसिकली उससे बड़ा गेन है. So this is called third step, proportionate understanding. The fourth, after this proportionate understanding, which is very important aspect, is that you have to make these litigants write the settlement on their own. You can guide them how to write it, but they must bring their own set of settlement. Like we give draft issues, we can impress upon the litigants to give us draft settlement. What will happen is, when they will bring this draft settlement, the mediator's jobs become very easy to only match those settlement points, and only left which are contradicting or which are conflicting, only that is to be resolved. Rest all is resolved by them themselves. And once that these drafts are written by themselves, they don't have a grudge. They don't have much to complain about that the mediator has put this clause. And that is why the important factor of the guidelines says that the mediator must not sign the settlement. The mediator must not sign the settlement. So please take it very seriously. It is rather prohibitory. Your signature is not required. Not required in the sense it is prohibited. The mediator must not sign. It must be signed only by 4 parties. The plaintiff, the defendant, the plaintiff's lawyer, and the defendant's lawyer. That's it. Only 4 parties must sign, not the mediator, because the Supreme Court says that the mediator is not to testify before court. And the moment a settlement is signed by the mediator, the possibility is that he may be called to testify. Once there is a signature on a document, the court has every right to summon, to testify. Is this happened in your presence? So the Supreme Court says that the mediator is not allowed to testify in the court, and therefore he must not sign the settlement. And the fifth and the most important aspect is that the entire mediation process, whether it ends into success or it ends into a failure, there the mediator need not to give any reasoning. See the contradiction. The judgment has to be with reasoning. The category of judgments of the Supreme Court, that the judgment must be backed by reasoning. Whereas the settlement, whether succeeds or fails, the mediator must not give any reasoning. If it succeeds, the settlement itself is speaking of itself. Res ipsa loquitur, the document speaks of itself. But if the settlement fails, even then, one line, the settlement has failed, or the mediation has failed. That's it. Why it failed? Because of whom is failed, who is stubborn, who is not ready to understand. No. That the report of failure of mediation must not have any reasoning. One line, and because you have to maintain confidentiality to whatever has been talked. Whatever offers have been exchanged, that cannot become evidence in the court tomorrow if the mediation fails. So whatever exchange, the mediator must make them relax, those litigants, that you can speak anything you want before me, it will be totally confidential. It will not be used as evidence in the court of law. Even if the mediation fails, your offer will not be taken as an evidence that you were agreed to this point, and nobody will testify to these offers, these exchanges, whatever you are saying. So the fifth and the most important aspect is confidentiality and no reasoning. Once again, I'll repeat for you these 5 steps. First, you must listen. You must be a good listener. The second, the process of elimination. The third, the proportionate system of consequences, the information of proportionate consequences. The fourth, the settlement must not be signed by the mediator, and the settlement must not be imposed. They themselves should be given the task to bring their draft settlements, which must be finalized by bringing. And the fifth, the most important, the confidentiality and the no evidentiary value, no reasoning. These are the 5 most important aspects for any mediator to keep in mind. 3 paramount things which a mediator must have an understanding of. Apart from these steps, these 3 paramounts are, 2 are already in the courts, which we know. One is fact, one is law. But the third most important aspect which the mediator must prevail upon is the paramount interest of the warring parties. Fact and law beside, because the courts take care of facts and law. A mediator can also take care of the interest of the party. What is in their interest? This is the 3 factors. Now, for knowing that interest, it is important, and impediment of one of the most important aspects of a mediator is that he must have an understanding of psychology along with the understanding of law. Sometimes if the understanding of psychology is lacking, one tends to react. So it is important that these 3 factors, with the understanding of psychology, the mediator must possess. And now, please understand that once these settlements are given to the court, that settlement will become, your job gets over the moment you arrive to settlement, or a failure report sent to court. You have to thank the parties and must not thrive to take credit. The mediator must not thrive to take credit. If he succeeds, he must not impose himself that due to me this happened, due to me that happened. He must have that absolute impersonal attitude. He must rather not even expect a thanks from the litigants. He must thank them that you have arrived to a conclusion, and send his report to the court, which will be converted into a decree or a judgment, or maybe if it's a failure report, the court will take over from there. So today, I hope that most of the things which I told was more interestingly being already told to you through this wonderful drama. I thank Bombay Bar Association, Small Causes Courts, and honorable judges here, along with the Legal Aid Committee of Maharashtra, to have organized such a beautiful session. And I volunteer my services whenever, wherever, in case if any mediation is required, my services are required. I volunteer it free of cost. Thank you so much.